Let me ask you something. You ever been to a music festival? I mean, it's the sort of thing where like they have a whole bunch of bands playing, and it's like an event. It's a gathering.
You camp out and stuff. Yeah, I've been to one music festival multiple times. It was Cornerstone Music Festival, which is a Christian music festival. You ever heard of this?
I haven't heard of it. What can you tell me about it?
Bushnell, Illinois, took place. It was actually pretty great experience at the time. I don't know if I'd be into the bands as much now, but a lot of ska, a lot of Christian music.
What is Christian music? What is that? What does that mean?
I don't know. I guess they basically take their feelings about God and religion and then infuse that into like a musical form. And then you sort of like enjoy music and you get a little bit of God in it as well.
Are you sure it's not you enjoy God and you get a little bit of music in it? Or is it feeling music forward?
It could be either or. I don't really know. I had a really good time at that music festival, though. I mean, you're camping around and everyone's super grungy. And if you shower, you have to do it in this gross communal shower kind of situation. You're using outhouses for 4 or 5 days. So
porta potties or outhouses?
Porta potties.
Okay, you said outhouses.
I mean, I think outhouses were available if you wanted to wait in the line for those. But
if you wanted to wait for the specialty outhouse, the permanent porta potty.
Did you ever go to a music festival?
I've been to a handful of music festivals. Yeah,
a handful.
I've been to a handful. Yeah, you know, some good, some fine, some more memorable than others. But I went to the Halfway Jam in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and that was like a 90s alt sort of post grunge festival. And that was wild, man.
What were some bands?
Oh, geez. Candlebox, Soul Asylum, Everclear was there. Lit. You remember Lit?
Yep. My own worst enemy.
Yeah. Seether was there. Sugar Ray. That's a big one. Buckcherry was there. Gin Blossoms.
Nice.
Skillet.
That sounds like a good time. Skillet showed up at Cornerstone because they're a Christian band.
What?
Yeah.
That's the crossover.
Yep.
All right. So we both saw Skillet at music festivals.
Yeah.
I knew that we had something in common. I knew that we did.
There were some popular bands that weren't just popular among Christians. I saw POD there, Switchfoot, Reliant K. I think all of those were like in some way they had broader appeal. I can't remember. There was one concert I went to though. And this, I felt so bad for the guy, but it's so funny in retrospect. It was Project 86 and it's this heavy metal Christian band. And, before the concert starts, the guy goes up on stage and he calls a girl in the audience up to join him. And then he expresses all of the feelings of love that he has for this person. And then he asks her to marry him on stage. And she said no. Oh. And she said no, and then she ran off stage.
Well, and rightfully so.
Yeah, tearfully running off stage. Oh. The man collapsed to his knees. And the band just started playing while he was still on his knees.
I don't know who to feel more sorry for, honestly. I think I feel more sorry for her.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, like,
I know he's humiliated, but like, guy, read the room. If you weren't sure that she was going to say yes, don't get up there. You moron.
I'm betting it was his first girlfriend. He was super excited because he went to a music festival and he was having a great time. He's like, yeah, I want my entire life to be this.
Holy cow. Welcome back. And I really do mean that. Welcome back to The Long Road Home Alone. Joey Z back on the mic. Jimmy, nice to see you again. How you doing?
I'm very happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here.
How are you?
You know, I'm doing okay. I'm just really happy to be back in the booth. It's been a minute.
Yeah, we're here at the Polka Festival. It's July, Christmas in July special. That's what we're about.
Annual Sheboygan Polka Festival. It's a beautiful thing. It's been going on now for several months.
Yeah, at least 5.
And it's starting to really hit its stride.
Oh yeah,
It's busy as heck out here. I mean,
Yeah.
you got the deep fried butter, you got polka to beat the band.
yeah.
I've
I've had my fill of kielbasas and pierogies, I can tell you.
Well, I have the same. Did you go over to the dunk tank? Did you see the dunk tank?
No, I don't
You
know.
should check out the dunk tank.
I don't like water.
You would love the dunk tank.
I don't want it.
Anyway, it's nice to be here, and I appreciate getting this opportunity to get back in the booth because, it's been a pretty constant sort of 24-hour broadcast of the live polka here, and I know it's been difficult for them to make space for us to get that broadcast slot back.
Yeah, luckily, thanks to a friend of the show, Bill Sikorsky, a vice chairman at the Sheboygan Chamber of Commerce, they're giving us a spot not related to polka, which is kind of a first for this year.
Yeah, and thank you, Bill, formally.
Really appreciate that. You're a good guy.
Is a friend of the show. Really nice to have him on our
Really
side.
appreciate your support. So, Christmas in July special.
Yeah, what do you think?
Do you know what Christmas in July is about? Why is that even a thing?
Oh, yeah, totally. Mattresses.
Mattresses?
Yeah.
That's not what I'd heard.
Oh, what did you hear?
I heard it was because normally Christmas takes place during a winter season. It's thought of as a winter holiday. And it started in the Southern Hemisphere. So in July, it is now about what December would feel like down there. And so they would put up decorations related to Christmas. So it would feel more like what Christmas normally is up in the Northern Hemisphere.
I heard it was about mattresses. You can get a really good deal on a mattress right now. Christmas in July sale. If you need a mattress, box spring. And they're also selling mattresses in boxes now.
You ever gone to the mattresses?
Have I gone?
Have you gone to the mattresses?
Can you ask that question in a different way to me?
Have you ever gone to the mattresses?
No.
Okay.
It's nice to think about, though, and I think that Christmas in July is a really great opportunity for us to get back on the mic because, of course, we talk mostly about Christmas through the framework, through the lens of this little movie you might have heard of called Home Alone.
Directed by Christopher Columbus.
Yep.
Written by John Hughes, produced by John Hughes, and the music was composed by John Williams, the guy who did Star Wars.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And Star Wars also has a holiday special, but I don't really want to get into that.
It's not related to Home Alone. They're two separate entities despite taking place during the holiday season.
Totally. And I think importantly, we've talked about this many times before on the show. It's really important for us to stay the course, not get pulled off track.
Yeah.
And I think we've done actually a brilliant job historically of not getting distracted.
This close to July 4th, most people are talking about Independence Day. Most people are talking about The Patriot. Not many people are talking about Home Alone. Not enough, anyway.
True that.
All right, I have 2 questions for you. First, what is your favorite John Hughes film in terms of films that he's written and directed? And what is your favorite John Hughes script?
Okay. Ferris Bueller's Day Off
For directing.
and Baby's Day Out.
Baby's Day Out for script. Nice.
What about you?
I'm going to go with Breakfast Club for film.
Okay.
And
Baby's Day Out.
no.
Drill Bit Taylor. Made in Manhattan.
Probably the script is either Home Alone or Breakfast Club. It's
You might double down on Breakfast Club?
It's one of the two. I really like Breakfast Club. I don't know. The Home Alone, I think
The Home Alone, as we're now calling it.
The
I
Home
guess.
Alone
Yeah.
is a pretty good script. So, yeah, it's one of those two. Home Alone, Breakfast Club. You know what I'll say? Favorite John Hughes film, Breakfast Club. Favorite John Hughes script, Home Alone.
Okay. I was kind of goofing about Baby's Day Out.
I certainly hope so.
We goof a little bit around here.
Well, not about that.
I would stick with Ferris Bueller's Day Off for writer director.
For a second, I was thinking Ferris Bueller's Day Out, but it's Baby's Day Off. Baby's Day Off.
Oh, Baby's Day Off. Working baby, boss baby gets the day off.
What were you saying?
I'm going to stick with Baby's Day Out. Yeah.
All right. John Hughes, what do you know about him?
Well, I know right where he died. I know the corner in Manhattan,
New York City.
right where he died, New York City.
Born in Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah, born in Lansing.
I was also born in Michigan.
You were?
I was.
You were?
Yeah.
Lansing. Lansing is the capital. No?
I wasn't born in Lansing. I was born in Michigan.
I don't know any other towns in Michigan. Lansing's the capital.
Detroit's one of them.
Detroit is there.
Petoskey's another one.
And Gladwin.
Yeah.
I think
those are the three big
know.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up on John Hughes. I grew up watching his movies. He certainly, I think, for a generation of people, sort of created a vibe. You kind of knew a John Hughes film when you saw it. And he was so he did some writing directing, right? He directed several of his own films. He's much more a writer than a director.
He's an incredibly prolific writer. And he's on record saying, I'm a much faster writer than I am a director. It just takes too much time as a director to dedicate to a film.
What do you, because he directed maybe 10 movies. He did direct several, but he never directed a movie that he didn't write.
Correct.
So he really always started out as a storyteller, as a writer. What do you know about his getting into directing? Was that like a method of control to control the stories?
I think it largely was. So he broke into the film industry writing screenplays. He wrote a National Lampoon, which was like sort of a sequel to Animal House or whatever. I can't remember. National Lampoon Class Reunion or something like that. He was
known film.
He was really disappointed with what they did with his script, and he didn't understand going into it that like, oh, I've written a script, I sell it to you, and you direct it and produce a film based exactly on what I've written. And he didn't understand that at that time that no, they're going to change things around. The director's going to have his own ideas about things, and it's going to be something that you hadn't envisioned when you sold it. And the same thing happened with Mr. Mom, which I just saw recently. I actually really enjoyed that film. He has disowned it as his because the director did his own thing with it, and the company did their own thing with it. And that was what brought him into directing. He had always, like, once he realized that's how the business worked, he wanted to be able to direct every script that he wrote so that he could make sure it was executed the way he had envisioned. And if he wasn't able to do that, he would still be on the project as producer.
That's probably why, we think of him later in his career as writer producer. I mean, John Hughes presents. So, I think that must have been important to him to be a producer on these projects, to really continue to control the story, the narrative, because he kind of had a secret sauce. He knew what worked.
When he started the Hughes production company, and then wrote these scripts, and he actually even said it. I can't direct as many projects as I write, so I have to delegate them to various different people. And he found directors like Howard Deutsch and Chris Columbus, who could take his material and deliver it in a way that he would still appreciate.
Right.
And he still had control over it. And when he directed, he never thought of himself as a technical director. He was always an actor director.
He really was a storyteller.
Yes.
This maybe is a bit of a tangent, but I'm curious what you think, because I don't know that he ever said why. I think maybe there's nothing beyond speculation, but we know that he wrote a few of his films under a pseudonym. And Why do you think that was?
No, I actually know exactly why. Largely, that was in a situation where he had sold a script and they had taken it and he'd taken his money away from the project. He didn't care about it anymore. And if they had changed it into something that he hadn't envisioned, he would slap a pen name on it. And it would sort of be like, I created the idea for it, but it's not my film, so I don't want my name on it.
So you know this. He said that?
He did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I guess I always kind of wondered if it was just like if it was less of an Alan Smithy, like disowning the project, I don't want my name associated with it. And if it was more of my name is such a commodity, my style is so well known, I want to be able to work outside of the parameters of my style without like tarnishing my reputation, or maybe like giving himself more room to be experimental.
I mean, he didn't start using the pen name, the Alan Smithy, until the 90s. And at that point, he had decided to stop directing films.
Right.
And then he just became a screenwriter, and he knew he could make a lot of money because studios loved the slapstick humor of Home Alone. And they were just trying to, you've got Beethoven, you've got Dennis the Menace, you've got Home Alone 2. They're just all of these films that John Hughes was a part of that he wrote because studios wanted slapstick humor associated with John Hughes. And so in the 90s, he stopped feeling less possessive about it. And it was just more like I'll write the script. The studio wants to buy it. And now, I'm fine. I've made my mark on cinema and now it's just a job is what it sort of felt like.
So what would you say your least favorite film directed by Hughes is? I know we're wading into the the murky world of opinion.
Yeah.
Also new for us.
If I'm being totally honest, like I'm not a huge fan of John Hughes directed films. And I think largely because of the thing that he said, he's an actor director. He is not a technical director. And when you look at Home Alone in particular, you can see the skill there with writing and the skill there with directing. Like Chris Columbus is not just a screenwriter. The guy knows how to execute a vision and how to make something visually interesting. And anytime I come into a John Hughes film, I never feel that about it. It's all about the characters, which isn't necessarily, which isn't bad. I'm not saying that's a fault, but it does feel like it's lacking in, like cinematic quality in a way that a film that Chris Columbus directs that, isn't.
I've never seen She's Having a Baby.
I haven't either. That's a very personal film for him too.
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know much about it.
It's basically autobiographical. He quit his job in his 30s when his wife was pregnant, and it's largely about that experience of he quit his advertising firm and decided in his 30s, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to be a creative. I need to be a writer. I want to write scripts. So he quit a successful advertising job while his wife was pregnant and started trying to write a script. And I think She's Having a Baby is about a novelist trying to write a book while his wife is having their first kid. And so it is a very personal film for him. It also was a flop, and it hit him pretty hard that it didn't do well. He was pretty sensitive to criticism, from what it sounds like.
I mean, at least it wasn't his first film directing. He'd at least broken into it wasn't like the moonshot, I'm quitting my job, I'm gonna go be a screenwriter, director, make a movie, and then it flops. And then his wife was like, come on, man. What gives? You gave it a shot. So since we're live here at the Polka Festival, we thought let's mix it up a little bit. It's a holiday extravaganza, Christmas in July. It's a special. And so we wanted to do some outreach to our listeners, our fans, the community, and do what they like to call on the World Wide Web an AMA. Or I think more for us, it would be an AUA. It's an Ask Us Anything. So we put it out there. We said submit some questions and let's see what people have to say. So how do you feel about that, Jimmy? You want to do this?
Yeah, let's go. Let's see what the people want to know from us.
Great. Okay. So first one here. This one just says play more polka, which doesn't really, I don't know. It doesn't really feel like a question.
Just a declarative statement.
Yeah. Okay. More like a, okay. So,
all right. Okay. I'll take the next one then. Can you play more polka?
That one is a question.
Yeah. Can we?
I don't feel like that's really in the spirit of the AMA, but I guess when you tell someone that they can ask you anything.
Yeah. I mean,
so long as it's phrased as a question, I guess I would say not yet.
My response would be we can try, we'll do our best, but no guarantees.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair.
All right. Next.
Here's one. Do you think cheese pizza will be a positive or negative memory for Kevin?
I'm going to say positive, actually. I think because Kevin walks away from his experience from that weekend. You know, he ordered his first cheese pizza by himself. The holiday was instigated because he didn't get any cheese pizza, but he also learned to appreciate his family who wasn't there to share in the cheese pizza with him.
Yeah. I think he's going to, remember cheese pizza fondly.
He's not going to learn to love black olives either. You know,
there's no evidence for it.
Yeah. You either do or you don't.
Oh, great question.
Yeah. Thank you. Next question. What job do you think Kevin will uphold as an adult?
What job do I think he will uphold? What an interesting way to put that, to phrase that question.
So what career path do you think he's headed down?
I mean, I feel like home security is low hanging fruit.
That's exactly where I was thinking too. Home security. I did that when I was 8 years old.
I've been doing that my entire life.
Really enjoyed it. Had a good time with it.
That's the easy answer. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I got to agree with you.
Okay, here's a good one. What do you think Uncle Frank's credit score is?
What? I actually don't know. Good credit score is like 800, right?
Yeah, 800's a great credit score.
I bet you Uncle Frank has a pretty great credit score. I think he's up in the excellent region.
I like that answer. He's really tight-fisted.
Yeah.
And maybe he is really good with his money. He's thrifty.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Uncle Frank's credit score is 740. Okay. I think he doesn't make enough money and he's got too many kids. I think he's got some debt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of it that way. I was thinking of him as a thrifty person.
Kids cost money.
Yep. Next question. If the Wet Bandits were a band, what genre would they play?
Ooh, fascinating. If the Wet Bandits were a band, doo-wop.
Doo-wop?
Doo-wop. You know, like Frankie Valli.
No, I know what it is. That's definitely not my answer.
Well, what's your answer?
I mean, it's not that. I don't know. Prog rock? I could say prog rock.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my answer.
All right. I like it.
Is it my turn?
It's my turn, I believe. Okay, this one. All right. Marry, kill, Old Man Marley, Uncle Frank, and desk clerk that sells Kevin the toothbrush. You go first.
The clerk is not Herb, right? It's
right. It's unnamed.
It's unnamed woman. How can I help you? Okay, I'm gonna do. Well, she'll be, I guess. Mary. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna go Old Man Marley on Mary and kill Uncle Frank. And my response for that is I think Old Man Marley is the kind of guy who would live with somebody who just wants to leave them alone. And that's exactly the kind of person I'd want to live with. I think me and Old Man Marley would get along splendid. Uncle Frank, probably not. So all right. I'll kill him. You?
My answer's the same. And I think that I'm going to marry Old Man Marley because he's old and he seems to have money because he lives in a pretty nice house in Winnetka. So I think if I marry in now, he's also just back, like off the rocks with his son. I don't know what that whole will situation looks like, but I think there's a good chance,
you'll get his shovel and his can of salt.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then if it's between, kill and Uncle Frank and desk clerk.
I mean,
I think that question's obvious. I mean, she's cute, and Uncle Frank is a jerk.
She's also just doing her job. She's not impatient.
Well, I'm not gonna f her at work.
All
right.
Nice. All right, it's my turn. There are many people who think Home Alone should have been PG-13. Knowing that this allows for a single F-bomb, where do you think it would be best delivered in the film?
What?
I immediately had my answer. You go first, but I know what I'm going to say.
Okay. Love the question. Though I do feel like the MPA, or back in 1990, the MPAA, is a little arcane with their judgments on these things. If it were me, if we just got one F-bomb carte blanche, I think this is just off the dome. Maybe if I thought more about it, I'd have a better answer. But I'm thinking when the bags break, when Kevin is walking home from the store and the bags break, I think
you think Kevin would say.
I think Kevin would utter the F word. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the style. It wouldn't work. Also, I don't know if a kid can get away with saying it.
I don't know.
Though a kid gets away with saying it in big.
I don't think Kevin is the kind of kid who uses the F word casually. If he's ever used it. Well, that's your answer, though. The shopping bags.
Yeah, it's not a good answer, but that's what I'm going with.
Oh, okay. My answer is when Joe Pesci gets shot in the nuts. That's when he drops the F-bomb. Loses it.
That does seem like the take where they probably had to do 15 takes because he kept saying the F word.
Which was an actual problem on set. Joe Pesci just could not stop swearing.
He had just gotten off of Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And
his replacement for the F word was fridge.
Yeah.
Like refrigerator.
Right, like refrigerator.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. What was the name of the McCallister's dog? Who in the family do you think picked the name? That's a two-parter.
I'm going to bet Linny and Megan had the biggest say in what the dog's name was. I think Megan and Linny are probably I think they're close to each other because they're like Megan and Linny are the next one down from Buzz, and then it's Jeff.
Right.
So I think those two are close. I think they have the most power
sisters
in terms of all of the kids.
Yeah, in a family of 5 kids with 2 girls and 3 boys, those girls best align.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it is Megan and Linny, what kind of name do you think they would come up with for a dog? We don't know if the dog is male or female. I'm going to assume male just because. I don't know why.
You're stalling. What do you think the name of the dog is?
Jethro.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to answer the question in a different way by not answering it. But I'm going to say that whatever the dog's name is, I bet you dollars to donuts that Peter doesn't know the dog's name. Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So, correct. Would you rather be the cellmate of Harry or Marv?
Marv.
Yeah, I totally agree.
For sure.
Harry would be scary as hell.
Yeah.
I would just be terrified. That guy, I'm going to do something to set that guy off. And I don't know what Marv did to make him not do that to him, but I don't have it. And
Marv would be a lot more fun. He's much more distractible. He's like, he's like a dog chasing a ball.
Yeah.
I think you could just like pitch what ifs to him.
Yep.
And he could riff. I think he'd actually probably be a great cellmate.
Yep. Cellmate with Marv. That's my choice.
Okay. Here's another one. Virtual reality game where you play through the scenes of the Home Alone as a character, the Home Alone as a character. Points based on line accuracy with bonus for matching movements. What order would you each list the main characters in by easiest to hardest to achieve a perfect score?
This is way too complicated for me to come up with the answer.
Understand the question. Virtual reality game where you play through the scenes of the Home Alone as a character. Okay, so you are a character in Home Alone, and then points based on line accuracy.
Okay,
with bonus for matching movements. What order would you each list the main characters in by easiest to hardest to achieve a perfect score? I understand the question now. That's a crazy question.
My answer is Jeff and 7.
What was the number portion of that? Did you say 7?
7.
What does the 7 mean?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. My answer is Herb.
Nice. Which Bond villain do you think is the best?
Which Bond villain do I think is the best?
Is this
006?
Alex Trevelyan.
Alex Trevelyan.
Is this the first question that's not related to Home Alone? I'm actually proud of whoever this person was because we did say ask us anything, and it didn't have to be related to Home Alone, and they took the liberty. Yeah,
of course not.
006 is your answer.
Yeah.
Mine is either Scaramanga from Man with Golden Gun, played by Christopher Lee, or 006, Alex Trevelyan, played by Sean Bean. One or the other, probably my favorite.
Yeah. Okay. What non-Home Alone things do you do for fun?
I play Twilight Imperium. I'm on the 4th edition now, and it's much better than the 3rd edition. When I'm not playing Twilight Imperium, I'm playing Scythe. When I'm not playing Scythe, I'm playing Terraforming Mars. When I'm not playing Terraforming Mars, I'm playing Defenders of the Realm. When I'm not playing that, I'm playing Settlers of Catan. But I don't play Settlers of Catan very much. How about you?
I translate James Joyce into Esperanto.
Man, that's admirable. Okay. Why are our taxes going toward public radio broadcasting when the Polka Festival is in dire need of funding?
Oof. Okay. So there's a simple and there's a more complicated answer to this. And I think I don't want the simple answer to be misleading, so I'll try to be as clear as possible with it. I think there is a misunderstanding of how taxes are allocated to this public broadcast. There is also, generally speaking, a misunderstanding about how the Polka Festival is funded. Public radio is in part an entity of the local government, and so there needs to be funding allocated to that as per the annual budget. The Polka Festival is actually run by a nonprofit organization, so they don't receive direct funding from the government. There is no direct, so I understand that if you want the Polka Festival to survive and thrive, and I think most people here do, they do need support, but that's more a tax deductible donation to a 501c3. Your taxes aren't going to that.
So stop blaming us for that.
All right. Some great questions there. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate the engagement. We know that we've been off the air for a little bit. So it's just nice to, it's nice to hear what listeners want to know from us. And I think, for what it's worth, we did a real A+ job on that.
I'm very proud of myself, and I'm a little proud of you too.
Wow. Thanks, Jimmy.
Leslie McCallister. Leslie is my favorite character in Home Alone. out of all of the not only all of the McCallisters, but all of the characters in the film of Home Alone, Leslie is the most altruistic. She is just always concerned about other people, about her kids, about her husband, about whatever's going on.
Yeah, I think it's obvious that Leslie has married into the McCallister family, that she's not a McCallister. And sure, Kate is married into it too, but I think Peter found his McCallister.
Yes.
She fits the bill really well. Leslie, on the other hand, she's much more Midwestern. Also, she's an Ohioan, presumably.
Yes.
She certainly is looking and acting like one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would agree. She's really not giving the McCallister vibe. She's bringing much more of a gentle, approachable, kind vibe
Yes.
to this family dynamic.
Yeah, she's pretty important to the story too. She's mentioned in the first sequence. She's in the first sequence where Kevin goes into his parents' bedroom and says, "Mom, nobody will let me do anything," or "Dad, nobody will let me do anything." And his dad says, "You want something to do? I got something for you to do. Go pick up those
micro machines you got all over the place down there."
Yeah, your Aunt Leslie almost stepped on one and almost broke her neck. So she's mentioned in that scene. You get that the micro machines are basically the prelude to the traps.
Right.
So you've got that, and then she shows up at the end of the scene. She goes into
here's a voltage adapter.
Yeah, Peter, Kate, you got a voltage adapter here? Yeah, and then you get the line. Oh, you're getting heavy. Go pack your suitcase. This is what leads to Kevin feeling downtrodden and like he's just this weak little sibling who can't take care of himself, can't pack his suitcase, is just like riddled with anxiety because he has to pack his own suitcase. Even after he's told, Mom's going to pack your suitcase for you. What are you freaking out about?
Leslie obviously isn't a central character, but in this way, she contributes to the chaotic family atmosphere. We, like you say, we see the Kevin and his parents. First, there's reference to Uncle Frank. The other kids, the big kids, we're already getting the impression that this house is full of people, right? And then Aunt Leslie, just in general, even in background shots, she's just filling the space. She's reminding us how chaotic this is. She's doting after her children, but she's moving around other people to do it. Everyone's kind of in a rush.
She's making sure everyone's got someplace to sleep. In the first scene where you're hearing people shouting at each other and Joe Pesci's trying to get attention, she's calling Tracy down. Yeah, she's calling Tracy down to come and make a bed up on the sofa in the living room. And I think the only time you see her as a mean person is in that shot after Kevin has created a ruckus in the kitchen and he spilt milk and Pepsi all over the place. And you see Aunt Leslie holding Fuller after he's been smashed in the face with a chair. And in that sequence, it feels like everyone's irritated with Kevin, but it's not all his fault. And they're all just being sort of cruel to him. But Leslie's the only one in that scene who it feels like actually has a legitimate reason to be upset.
Even then, she just looks disappointed.
Yeah, she never says anything terrible to him. She's just,
she never says anything. Her voice does not ring back through his ears when he's thinking about how he made his family disappear.
Exactly.
Can we just take a moment to give the shine to who Leslie is? Because this is Terry Snell.
Terry Snell.
The actor who's playing Leslie is Terry Snell.
Very talented.
She's Chicago native. You're not going to know her from a lot of other things. She started
also the last name Snell is it's an Americanized version of the word Schnell in German, which means quick or rapid or something. So
very good. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, she did a few. I think this was really kind of her first movie with a speaking role. I do know that she happened to get connected with John Hughes. She was like a background actor, and she's having a baby. She was in Curly Sue. You're not going to even see her credited. She's not in the credits of those films, and it's going to be hard to track that down. But if you hear her talk about her career and her start in Chicago, she will talk about how she, started in voiceover. She did commercial. She did stage. She was with Steppenwolf in Chicago. So she really is like a Chicago-based native performer.
I do feel like her claim to fame is the line in this film, "Fuller, go easy on the Pepsi." That is a line I've heard many people quote throughout my life, and that's her. Yeah.
And she now runs her own talent agency. I think she got out of the acting biz. She didn't do a ton of movies.
Yeah.
So I think she is one of, we have a fairly large ensemble cast in this film.
Yeah.
You get some like Jerry Baman, who maybe from a few other movies, but probably, easily perhaps not.
Yeah.
Right.
She feels very much like a Midwestern local actor.
Yeah. So I think this is a sort of a cool big break for her. I think this movie and definitely the sequel, which I think when everyone was brought back and probably paid a lot more money, I think that made a big difference in her career and really helped set her up, establish her to continue on in the entertainment business. So I think recognizing that she's a small but important character who we admire in this.
Yeah.
Hats off to Terry Snell.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. I know that you said that you were basically full of kielbasa, but I just went and grabbed another one. And they're not bad.
Yeah.
They're not half bad out there.
Just eat it out of my eyesight.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to watch my cholesterol. Nah, just kidding. I'm not. It really is nice to be back here, back in the booth.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
It's a beautiful festival that's going on. We are really happy, and I do want to say that we're really happy to be here. We're really happy to be given the slot. Yeah. It's something that we've been talking about sort of internally behind the scenes for a long time, doing some negotiations, and I think it's just again, Bill. Huge props to Bill to get us here.
Bill Sikorsky.
Yep.
Next election.
Is Bill elected or is he appointed?
I don't know. I thought I should say that.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's a nice thing to say, no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether it's meaningful or actionable or whatever.
If you see
I think
Bill
it's nice.
Sikorsky on a ballot, vote for him if you support the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not been easy. In the last several months for me personally. I've been back to the industrial laundromat, but I don't really want to get into all of that.
Pretty rocky ride.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that, we were talking about this show and this broadcast block that they were giving us. And they said, well, let's do a special and let's add, some variety to this. So I think if we're thinking of this as a variety show, as you might say, I think something that we talked about was like, let's pitch each other some trivia here. You know, I mean, do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, let's do it. And you know what? As any listeners to this broadcast, we ask the questions to each other, and the questions being asked to them too, and they can participate.
Right? Yeah. Right. So put on your thinking caps.
All right.
And be ready to answer these questions. Now, let me ask you. Can I ask you a question real quick first?
Yes.
Just out of curiosity.
You can ask me a question.
And before, it's a pre-question. Before it's a trivia question, I have a question about the trivia segment.
This isn't related to Home Alone.
No, it's related to the game.
All right.
So
go ahead.
My question for you is, because we have prepared trivia questions for one another. My question for you is, are your questions, are they things that you could or would know about Home Alone if you've watched the film enough or closely enough? Or are they things that you would need to know about the film through additional research?
What I'm thinking is that if you're a casual fan of Home Alone, You could probably answer most of the questions I've posed for
Love
this
it.
trivia section.
Okay. I think for the most part, mine are not that.
No?
But the way that I thought about this was, it's difficult for me to think of things about Home Alone that I wouldn't assume you don't already know. So I had to do some digging. But we'll see. I feel like I'm not going to be very good at this, even though that's a weird thing to say, but I feel like you're going to try to trick me.
Yeah, I'm pretty frightened now.
Okay. Well, how about you start?
Okay.
Trivia. Home Alone trivia on the long road home alone starts now.
Question number 1. What company name is displayed on the side of the Wet Bandits van?
Okay. With an OH. Okay. Something. Plumbing.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Question for you. What color is the Home Alone logo at the beginning of the movie?
Blue.
Very good. It's blue.
Nice. Question number 2. What song is playing during the infamous house party sequence?
Rocking Around the Christmas Tree?
Correct.
All right.
Do you know the artist? You don't have to, but
No.
do you? No. It's Brenda Lee.
Okay. Home Alone was nominated for 2 Oscars.
Best song, best score.
Do you know the song?
Somewhere in my memory by John Williams and other artists.
Okay. And best score by John Williams.
Correct.
Very good. Neither one. But I think that that's a fun trivia question just in general, because you probably didn't realize that Home Alone, I mean, you love it. You ought to see it, but it got nominated for 2 Oscars.
Nominations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're batting 1,000 here. Let's go.
Question number 3 for you. What is the first food we see Kevin consume after concluding that he made his family disappear?
Popcorn? Jumping on the bed?
It is popcorn.
Okay.
I was hoping that would be a trick question. I thought you were going to say ice cream during the Angels with Filthy Souls sequence.
No, because he says, I made my family disappear.
Yep.
Ow! And then it's the montage, and he's jumping on the bed before he's ever watching the
He's eating
the
popcorn.
Grinch. Okay.
Yep. Correct.
All right. Fun fact about that one, by the way. When he was jumping on the bed, they had crew. They had like grips or something like that lying on the floor on either side of the bed for quote unquote safety, just in case Macaulay Culkin fell off the bed and they had to catch him. Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Who did John Hughes have in mind when writing the character of Uncle Frank?
I actually do know that, but I don't know if I want to be able to dredge it up. They tried to get that actor and he refused. It wasn't Nick Cage, right?
No, it wasn't Nick Cage.
Oh, I can't remember. I do know, but I can't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Kelsey Grammer.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Kelsey
right.
Grammer.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
At least that wasn't so obscure that you're going, what are you talking about?
No, I should have known that.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed I didn't.
No, that's all right. All right. Okay, good.
All right. Question number 4. What is the McCallisters' home address?
It's 4 digits. Does it start with 11?
No.
Does it start with 12?
No, it's also not 4 digits.
It's Lincoln Boulevard.
That's correct. Yes.
Which is not a real street.
No.
In Winnetka. Is it in the 300s? Is it 306?
Nope.
No, I don't know.
671 Lincoln Boulevard.
671. And it is named.
It is.
It is named by Harry. That's
it didn't feel like it was too deep.
Right.
I felt like I wasn't being too unfair with it.
Right. Now, number 664.
Yep.
Now.
Yep.
Number 671. And that's the one, Marv.
That's the silver tuna.
Okay. All right. We're getting good. We're getting into it here.
Okay.
Okay. Which of Kevin's siblings in real life, which of the actors who played one of Kevin's siblings went on to become an Olympian? And you can give me the name of the sibling. You can give me the name of the actor. And for bonus points, you can tell me what the sport was. And if you don't know, I mean, it's a 1 in 4 chance.
Yeah. It's definitely not Devin Rattray.
You know that.
What do we got? It's not Jeff, so it's either Megan or Linny. I'm going to go with Megan.
You got it. You
Nice.
got it.
Nice.
Hillary Wolf, Megan. She was an Olympian on the U.S. judo team in 1996 and in 2000.
Holy cow.
Well done.
Nice.
Well done.
Nice. All right. This one might be, I don't know. It's maybe a little too much background. Question number 5. What color is the telephone in Pete and Kate's bedroom? It is featured prominently in 2 scenes in the film.
Okay. I love it. I am famously bad at this.
Yes.
In my life. My recall for color, for patterns, for the way things look. I mean, I could live in a house for years and not be inside the house. And if someone was like, what color are the walls?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
That said, there is a real theme that's going on in this house. So
It's
I'm gonna
obviously not purple.
I'm gonna go with green.
That is correct.
Yeah. All right. All right.
It was either red or green. One of the two.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I got just a couple more here. Another one sort of in line with Kelsey Grammer. We'll see if you know this one. Maybe this will be redemption for you, or maybe this is going down a path that is meaningless. But this one is more about Columbus. So John Hughes, when he was writing the character of Uncle Frank, he had Kelsey Grammer in mind. Mm-hmm. But now when it came to casting for the role of Harry, do you know who Columbus originally had in mind? And I think there are 2 possible right answers here.
No, actually, I have no idea. Harry, it was always Joe Pesci. I don't remember ever hearing any other names.
Yeah.
What is it?
So I only included this one because we have talked before about how Daniel Stern had needed to walk away from the project. It was a pay or a scheduling thing or whatever. They had tried another actor, right? And Columbus really wanted Daniel Stern for this role.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, Joe Pesci was not Columbus's first choice for Harry. And even though Pesci is so good in the role, kind of makes sense. I mean, we've never really, at that point in Pesci's career, we've never really seen him play a character like this, right? The answer is he had approached 2 actors before Joe Pesci, both who turned it down. One was Robert De Niro, and the other
I remember hearing that one.
Okay. And the other was John Lovitz.
John Lovitz, that one I hadn't heard. That's pretty great.
They both turned it down. Lovitz officially turned that down before Pesci came out of the project.
And then did Brave Little Toaster instead.
Right. And look at his flourishing career.
I've got one last question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so you can get bonus points in this one for whatever those points are worth, but can you name all of the kids in any one McCallister family? And if you can name all of the McCallister kids, then you get bonus points.
Well, I can definitely name all the kids in our main McCallister nuclear family.
Okay.
And because we got Kevin, we got Jeff, we got Buzz, Megan, and Linny. Those are the 5 McCallisters.
Got those.
Those are Kevin's 4 siblings.
Can you do Frank's? Frank and Leslie's?
It's gonna be tougher, especially because we've been away from this for a little while. But
you know one for sure.
Well, I know Fuller for sure.
Yep.
Rod is also Rod is a strange one. Rod is a strange one. Rod is not their kid.
Rod is Rob's kid. Robin Georgette.
I'm not sure that's right. I know that we have said this before, but I think that there's an argument to be made one way or the other. I'm not sure what's canon.
I don't
anymore.
think so. I'm pretty sure Rod is Robin Georgette's kid.
I know you're pretty sure. I know we've been pretty sure, but I'm here to say
I don't want to bring up something so controversial right now. Okay, just answer that question.
Well, I mean, it's important. It's directly related to the question. Well, okay, so we'll say that Rod is of the French McCallisters. And then Rod's siblings are Stefan.
Yes.
And...
which actually isn't named in the film. So that's...
well, thank you very much. Heather.
Yep.
Who's the oldest. And 2 girls, unnamed.
Yep. Unnamed twins.
And
now
then
you just got
that leaves the 3 children.
3 more children who are older
Leslie
than
and
4.
Frank.
Correct.
And that is... I'm out. I'm all out of brain cells.
All right.
What are their names?
Tracy, Sandra, and Brooke.
Tracy, Sandra, and Brooke. Oh, right. Of course. Of course. Sandra. Who could forget Sandra?
Yep.
And who could forget Tracy? I could forget Brooke.
Yeah.
I could forget Brooke. Okay. Well, I got the question. I didn't get maybe all the bonus points.
Yeah.
But I also got Stefan, which feels like a bonus point.
Yeah. And you didn't have to use any phone a friend.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. So sitting here where we are, this part of the country,
Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin, here at the wonderful Sheboygan Polka Festival. And again, really, hats off to Bill Sikorsky.
Yes.
Big fan of ours, and we're a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Honestly. Wouldn't be here without him, frankly. I wondered if you might want to talk about the topic of Chicago, because I feel like it gets touched on.
Home Alone takes place in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. Home Alone takes place in Chicago.
And most John Hughes films take place in Chicago.
Exactly. So it seems well within the realm to talk about. I also think, like, love it or hate it, or neither. Really, I mean, you could be dispassionate about it in general, but I feel like we're kind of in that Chicago, we're in that Chicago land almost. We get a bit of that spillover, right?
Yeah, we're affected by it.
We're affected by it. I'm not here to say that Sheboygan would be a thriving metropolis if Chicago wasn't, like, taking the shine from us. But I do think that, when we think about big cities, we think about Chicago. That's kind of our big city around here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? I know that you said that you were born in Michigan, but which I actually never knew. But being I'm going to say effectively a native Wisconsinian.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Chicago, especially with regards, the era in which we were growing up?
Yeah, I just remember so many big films and TV shows taking place in Chicago in the late 80s and even in the 70s and then the early 90s. Family Matters took place in Chicago. ER, Perfect Strangers, Married with Children, Good Times, The Bob Newhart Show.
Bob Newhart, I forgot that the Bob Newhart Show was Chicago.
Early edition, Kenan and Kel is one. I didn't know that one took place in Chicago, but apparently it did. You familiar with Kenan and Kel?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Kenan and Kel. That takes place in Chicago?
It does.
The opening of that show is with Coolio, because Coolio did the theme song for Kenan and Kel.
I didn't know that.
And Coolio appears in the opening sequence with Kenan and Kel, and they are under the globe that's at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. Not that I thought the show took place in Orlando, but I don't know. I guess it was outside of the universe there. They were also going by their own first names in that show. So it was sort of that crossover where it's like, hey, a wink to the camera. It's kind of like Bob Newhart, really. Yeah. Where it's like, I'm not Bob Newhart, like the guy outside of the show, but I'm going to play a guy named Bob.
Webster was another one.
Let's not get bogged down with Webster.
Oh,
what do you have to say about Webster?
Nothing.
I saw
a couple episodes.
That's what I thought.
I did see The Fugitive, which takes place in Chicago. Adventures in Babysitting. We've got Chris Columbus there.
Babysitting. Yep. Fugitive is a great Chicago movie. I'll tell you another one. You're gonna love this one. Backdraft. That's a Chicago movie.
I never saw it.
And I know you love that movie.
I mean, I like Ron Howard.
You love Ron Howard.
I like Ron Howard fine.
He's your favorite director.
He's one of them. He's up there. He's a good guy.
Home Alone. That was shot in Winnetka.
I did learn.
Many scenes were also filmed in the city itself.
Also
O'Hare.
In researching this episode, I found out there's a soap opera called Winnetka Road, starring Ed Begley Jr.
Wow.
And
Ed Begley Jr., famous for
Batman Forever, in which he's uncredited.
Untouchables. How do you feel about Untouchables? Tell me about Untouchables.
I'm not a big Brian De Palma fan.
I don't want to hear it from that lens. How do you feel about Untouchables? I mean, Untouchables is a very unique Brian De Palma film.
Yeah, it's probably his best.
It's probably his best.
How do you feel about Untouchables?
I like Untouchables. I don't think it's one of De Palma's best necessarily, though I feel like it's a hard one to judge against his filmography because it is so unique. And I mean, it is him doing a period piece and a historical drama.
Yeah.
But I like Untouchables specifically within the framework of Chicago, just because you see some of those filming locations.
Yeah.
Like you see Union Station.
Yeah.
Which was built early enough that they could still use that in 1986 or 87 or whatever Untouchables was.
Yeah.
And still make it look like it's the 20s.
Yeah. Candyman was another big one.
Candyman, yeah, Cabrini Green.
Yeah.
The housing projects. They actually shot a lot of that at Cabrini Green on South Side Chicago.
Most of those have been demolished by this point, right? Yeah, all of them have, I think.
Yeah, I think for people of a certain age, they're going to remember Chicago being this real sort of like American cultural touchstone because so many popular shows and movies took place there.
Yeah.
So I think that's really reaching people's subconscious or semi-conscious all over the country, right? Whether they've ever been to Chicago before. And that's something that New York has, that's something that LA has. And I think very few other American cities where you could poll somebody across the country and they will have a notion of this American city, even if they've never been to it before, right? Yeah. And so I think like in the 80s and 90s particularly, Chicago was that for a lot of people. Even if you'd never been to the Midwest, if you've never been to the Windy City, the Big Windy, as we call it around here.
It was a big manufacturing city for several decades. And then I think a lot of those jobs got outsourced, and that brought quite a bit of decline to the city. And then they started leaning more into the entertainment and tourism. And, you've got the Millennium Mile or whatever it is where people...
Miracle Mile,
where people come to shop and whatnot.
What made you think it was Millennium Mile? What about Chicago?
Millennium Park, I think.
Oh, okay.
Is that one? Is that a thing?
I don't know. I've actually never been outside of Sheboygan, so...
Second City is in Chicago. You ever been there?
Yeah, Second City to what?
Second City to Toronto.
Okay. I think Chicago, I'm going to say it surprises me that Chicago was ever as popular as it was for filming locations. And that's because it's cold. It's windy.
And windy.
The winters are really long. The weather can change on a dime. It can be an absolute nightmare for matching shots, for continuity's sake, right? If you're shooting things that are outdoors.
But you can find abandoned schools there and then buy them and then shoot your films in their gymnasium, which is exactly what John Hughes did.
Well, he did, but I think that is not probably unique to Chicago.
No,
and I think it can probably...
Everyone who lives in Chicago should follow a similar tact if they want to be successful.
Well, perhaps moreover, anyone anywhere, not just in Chicago, might be able to follow a similar. I think we've seen
look for the empty schools in your district and wonder
and buy
how many
them
films
with
can
all the
be
money
shot.
that you have from all of the movie scripts that you've already sold.
No, take out a loan, buy the school,
take out a reverse mortgage,
create a studio
on your
in the
car.
Gymnasium. If you need underwater stuff, deep blue sea. You can do that in the pool section, which is what they did in Home Alone.
I think we see more and more films that are shot in places like Atlanta right? Back in the 80s and 90s, they weren't shooting stuff in Atlanta. I think Atlanta has really popped up.
Yeah.
You see the end of shows, you see that Georgia peach on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And
they
I
were,
think
they were just making cartoons in Atlanta back in the day.
they're doing animation. They had animation studios.
Cartoon Network.
And I think like all, you got some of, in the 90s, you started to see more Canada taking a bite. You got like Vancouver, you got Toronto a little bit. And then I think increasingly like some of the more southern U.S. cities like Albuquerque has more of a, I think in the 80s and 90s, like they weren't really shooting stuff down there.
Yeah.
But I think with tax incentives and with just a better climate for shooting, I think things moved away from Chicago. And the way that I feel is that, that makes a lot of sense to me. I would rather shoot in Georgia than Chicago. If I got to shoot outside, if I got to rely on sunshine, if I got to make sure that my cast and crew are comfortable, if I got to shoot in the fall or the early spring, I'd rather be shooting in the South. So I think we're lucky that so much was shot in Chicago when it was.
And I do want to bring this back to John Hughes.
Give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
He made a point of shooting most of his films in Chicago, largely because he just didn't want to be living in a city where people shot films and where the reputation as a filmmaker mattered. He would rather be making films in a city where it didn't happen very often. And if you went to dinner, you're just rubbing shoulders with everyday people. And he felt like that was a much more inspirational environment to write his stuff in and to shoot his stuff in. And I don't know, I kind of admired that, like trying to stay on the ground level of things and really trying to connect with the people. He made a point of saying that as great as your life may be, wherever you're living, it's the guy in Indiana who is just like working for minimum wage and going to a theater on Friday night that is deciding whether or not your film is successful. The gist I got from John Hughes is that by staying in Chicago, he felt like he was staying connected to the everyday working person.
Do you feel, in that regard, like you stay relatable to the common man? Being here on public radio in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, being what I would call an active member of this community, to the extent that you are able. I mean, as much as you can get out.
That's your opinion.
Do you think that keeps you humble? That keeps you close enough to your roots so that as a public persona, people who know you, admire you, celebrate you, idolize you, worship you, do you feel like this lifestyle that you've built for yourself keeps you grounded?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. So, I mean, it really kind of undermines your entire thesis about John Hughes, wouldn't you say?
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay, well, we had more planned for our show, but we're getting the tap on the shoulder from the good old Sheboygan Chamber of Commerce. The
good old Sheboygan Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, Bill did everything he could for us, but I guess there were a couple other voices that decided we needed to get off the air now. So
yeah, we really did have a bunch more scheduled. They were, and look, I get it. They say we got to get back to the polka. Mm-hmm. It is 24-hour polka, 7 days a week. Yeah. And again, hats off to Bill for really carving out this spot for us. We like to think that, a little bit of a break, talk about our stuff. Yeah. The community at large appreciates it, but I know that that's not 100% across the board, and that comes with the territory.
Particularly Jerry Novak, Secretary Director of Radio and Television Administration and Development. He's not a big fan of ours.
Jerry's not a big fan of ours. I didn't know if we were going to really bring that up specifically.
I didn't want to say his name, but I apologize. I probably shouldn't have done that.
No, because
nor is cohort Dan Glebensky, the Undersecretary, Director of Radio and Television Administration and Development.
Yeah, no, I think Jerry and Dan both they're both guys who we know personally.
Yeah.
And I think as a matter of fact, I think in previous talks,
there are good things to say about them sometimes.
Sure. Well, there are a lot of ins and outs when it comes to what receives funding, what receives, priority on the airwaves. There's only so much. Look.
All I'm saying is, I don't think that a pair of unelected bureaucrats on a power trip should have this much influence.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't want to get mired in it, but it's true. Look, Jerry, Dan, if you're listening right now, and I know you are because you're standing on the other side of that door, scowling at us, we're just trying to do something good. For
not
community.
Everything needs to be polka. You don't need to be broadcasting polka all the time, okay?
Wow.
Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Let's try to cool our jets a little bit. Look, really glad to be here again for the Polka Festival. We love the Polka Festival. I'm down here every day. I'm out here panhandling. I'm trying to make a buck. But hey, if you like the show, if you like to tune in, let us know, let everybody know, let the Chamber of Commerce know, because this is a vibrant democracy. Everybody has a voice. And I think in particular, Jerry and Dan, they are appointed. I'm just going to say it, stooges.
Their voices
I don't
are
mean
a little too extreme, I think.
Yeah, I don't mean to call anyone a stooge as an insult. I think just literally they are stooges.
Yeah, like a
it's just an observation.
A professional stooge.
They're professional stooges.
You're making money at it.
Yeah, they're appointed. They're not elected. It feels a little undemocratic, frankly. And listen, I like you guys. You're fine. Anyway, Long Road Home Alone. Great to be back. Great to see you again, Jimmy. It's been a while.
Oh man,
I would use a shave.
I would love to be on the air again if we just had enough people who wanted us to come back and talk about Home Alone and what's important about it and how it connects to regular people.
Absolutely. We know that most people love the film Home Alone. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. And most people really want to hear more about it.
Yes.
There's just not enough about it.
You can't say enough about the movie Home Alone.
I know I can't. And you have proven that you can't say enough yet either.
I've got so much more.
Folks, listen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're so happy to have you back. We're so happy to have this little slot on the airwaves to come back at you. If you love it,
Merry Christmas in July.
Buy a mattress. Spend that tax rebate that you got.
Tell people about the Long Road Home Alone.
Spend that money that you saved on the mattress that was on sale. Spend the rest of that money telling people how much you love this show. It'll help us stay on the air. It'll help us keep getting the message out. This is an important message. This is public. It's publicly funded. It's educational. It's important. It's meaningful culturally. And we are your servants. We're your public servants, and we're so happy to be here.
Also, Jerry Novak and Dan Glebensky are...
So if you want to write a letter. Anyway, so good to see you again, Jimmy. And good luck. I know that you're going through some stuff right now, so I just wish you the best of luck. Folks, once again, to the Long Road Home Alone, thanks so much for tuning in.
I just hate polka so much, and I gotta listen to it all the time.
The Long Road Home Alone is broadcast live from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. It's hosted by Jimmy Dantes and Joey Z and produced by Pat Muldoon. Until next time, eat junk and listen to rubbish.